Hello, my sexy aliens, and welcome to this crazy ass week with this Virgo lunar eclipse. You definitely don't want to miss the beginning of this one, honey. Okay, you're gonna want to watch the first half of this video before you go skipping to your little rising sign, okay? Because I have a lot that I'm about to share with you, and it's deep, and you just need to know, okay? You need to know. If you're feeling lost, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling a little stuck in life, okay, this first half of the video is for you, but honestly, everybody needs to watch it. So this is mandatory. Mandatory watching, okay? First part of the video. Keep that in mind. So today we are going to talk about this crazy Virgo lunar eclipse and the crazy events that are leading up to it, okay? There are so many cycles that are closing and starting and just so many different things. This is a really, really, really big time that can change a lot of people's lives. This is the turning point for many people and the catalyst of this month that really shakes up everything. I've really noticed lately that I myself and many others are feeling lost and feeling a little confused and feeling a little bit stuck. So if that is you, I think that this week is going to offer a major turning point for many. And speaking of astrology, and speaking of this Virgo lunar eclipse, very quickly, I would like to give a brief shout out to today's sponsor for this video, which is the astrology app called Astopia. Astopia is a very cool app, if you didn't know, and I'm a Venus in Virgo, okay? So I'm very picky. I'm very picky about the things I promote, and I'm very picky about the things that I like, but I have to say, this app is really cool. I actually got my own horoscope with everything going on this week on it. It will actually give you your horoscope on a day-to-day basis with all these different transits. You can check out their cosmic events section to see what this lunar eclipse is actually going to be bringing up for you personally. My own horoscope was actually really freaking accurate. I was really impressed. And so whether you're just getting into astrology or even if you're an intermediate astrologer, this app has so much on it. Not only will it tell you your chart, tell you about yourself, but also it will actually give you your current horoscope, with all the different transits going on. Definitely check it out. Use my link below. They have a free version, but even their paid versions that give you so much more, including your own horoscope and all of that, are actually very affordable. I feel really good recommending their app. So if you would like to check it out, if you're into astrology apps, I haven't found too many that I like. So for me to say that I like this one, I think it's a good one. So definitely check it out with my link down below. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this Virgo lunar eclipse and the craziness of events leading up to it and what I think it is bringing up for us at this time. Okay, so this lunar eclipse in Virgo is ending a lot of cycles. In fact, this whole week, the week that we are having this lunar eclipse, is ending a lot of cycles. The actual lunar eclipse is happening on the 14th, but there are just so many cycles combining within this eclipse itself. We have cycles that are kind of coming back around from September last year, 2024. We have cycles that are coming back around from September 2016. Going to go ahead and put the chart up on my screen so we can break this mofo down here. And as you can see, we have the moon in Virgo, and it is super close to the south node, right? And opposite of it, we have the sun, Saturn, north node, and even Neptune there, right? So this is a wild mother effing eclipse, okay? This is a wild energy coming in. And there's so many different ways that it can play out. We even have a trine going on with Uranus here and Taurus, and there's so many other things happening right around the time and leading up to this eclipse as well that we're going to go over. So first, let's start with this lunar eclipse being in the sign of Virgo here, right? So a lunar eclipse is basically a full moon, right? Full moons usually indicate that there are peak moments, peak changes coming to light, big revelations, big, emotional, intense kind of things that are changing, coming to light, being realized or being closed out in some way, right? Now, on top of that, with this particular lunar eclipse, it is a lunar eclipse because it is very close to the south node, and the south node deals with karmic lessons in our lives, can deal with kind of stripping things away or draining things out or letting things go or things coming back around from the past or karmic lessons, things coming back around that we may have already kind of learned or thought that we learned or something from the past, a pattern from the past that we're noticing. So these things can be very huge right now, right? Now, on top of that, it is happening in the sign of Virgo, right? Virgo is an earth sign ruled by the planet of Mercury. Mercury ruling over an earth sign. This sign, the sign of Virgo, likes to be very analytical when it comes to matter, right? Earth sign. When it comes to earthly physical things, material things, how do things work? How does my environment work? If I put this with this or add this with this, how's that going to play out, right? Which is why Virgo energy can be very like mechanical. Virgo energy can be very good with like healing, having little remedies or methods for everything. Organization, organizing the earthly realm. How does that play out, right? Having its own kind of sense of things go here and things go there. And if you put this with this, it makes it even better. This energy really likes for things to improve. Improvement is a big, big Virgo kind of word. If we add this to this, will it improve, right? It's worried about things working efficiently, things being useful, amping up the quality on things, making it more effective, making it more efficient, improving it, etc. Right? So when we have a lunar eclipse here happening in the sign of Virgo that likes to be in control of the earthly realm, opposite of all of this Pisces energy down here that's very much about releasing control, well, what happens, right? So before we get to that though, I'm going to kind of talk about the lead up to this eclipse, because this is where everything kind of leads up to this particular moment, and it's a big freaking deal, and you need to know this. So first, the first thing that we have is on March 11th, we're going to have Mercury here in Aries pass Venus retrograde. That's also in Aries, right? Venus has been retrograding in Aries. She started retrograding around 10 degrees, right? She's been in front of Mercury, but now that she's going backward, Mercury passes her and is now in front of her, right? And this is really interesting. So on March 11th or around March 11th, we start kind of potentially getting some ideas of what this Venus retrograde is about, or there starts to be some subtle clues as to what we really actually want, what we really find pleasure in, what we really are passionate about, what really turns us on in life, what do we really actually truly want, right? That's what this Venus retrograde is pretty much about. What do we want? And it's going it's retrograding back so we can really reflect on this, because maybe we've been feeling stuck, right? All of this stuff in Pisces, we've been feeling stuck. There's been retrograde after retrograde. We've been unclear. It's been foggy. It's been hazy. We haven't been completely clear about how to move forward. All this Aries energy, right? Aries wants to move forward, but we have all these retrogrades happening in Aries, meaning we can't move forward just yet because we're stuck on something. Something doesn't quite make sense. We don't really have the little detail, lunar eclipse in Virgo, the little puzzle piece that's going to make it all click just yet, right? Maybe we've had clues of it. Maybe we've had signs of it, but it just feels too simple, right? It feels too easy, or it feels like that can't work, right? Which we'll get back to in a minute. So, and I did take notes so I could kind of stay on track because I had a lot coming to me about this eclipse. So we've been kind of feeling stuck, right? And then Mercury passes Venus, gives us some kind of details, some kind of clarity, or some subtle hints about what is coming, right? So then on the 12th, we're going to have the Sun and Saturn start coming into their conjunction, right? This brings a very sobering energy here. This brings a very sobering energy. I feel like for some people, this could be like a, I don't know moment. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know what I want anymore. I don't know where I'm going anymore. I don't know the answers. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. I just don't know. There's like this huge kind of I don't know moment, right? And we've been feeling stuck. We've been revising what we really actually even want. We know that something needs to change, but we don't exactly know what it is, right? And we have kind of had this weird confusion surrounding what direction that we're going, or we've been kind of revising what we actually really want or what actually really turns us on. And so this Sun-Saturn conjunction comes in, and it's kind of this sobering, potentially serious, potentially humbling moment, or huge wake-up call or revelation, this moment of like honesty that potentially cleanses the soul, this moment of us really realizing or reaching a certain boundary or a limit where we know that something needs to change, or we need to potentially let go of certain limitations or certain boundaries that have been keeping us stuck, right? Whatever that looks like, So we may need to kind of admit that maybe we don't have all the answers. Maybe we don't know it all, right? And, I was just like, I realized this the other day because I've been kind of feeling a little bit like lost with some things in my own life. And it's kind of been dragged out for this like long period of time. And although I'm not like miserable, I'm not necessarily like on and popping and the happiest I've ever been either, right? And so I realized the other day that, it's something I used to call the beginner mindset. Through my self-development, healing, transformation kind of journey, I've realized that the times where I change the most are the times where I open my mind back up again, right? Where I'm not so closed-minded. It's like when you give someone advice and they're like, yeah, but, well, I already tried that, but that's not going to work because this and that. Yeah, no, you don't get it because I already did that. I already know that, yada, yada. Like when we have all that because we think we know everything, if we knew everything, we wouldn't be feeling lost, stuck, or confused, right? So, and I realized I caught myself doing that the other day in different conversations I was having, and I was like, every time anybody like even tries to recommend something or suggest something or like whatever, I'm like, yeah, but. And it's like, ew, like, why am I doing that? Like, obviously, if I knew it all, then I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, So the lead up to this lunar eclipse in Virgo is really, really powerful because of this Saturn Sun conjunction happening in Pisces. This is basically us realizing, us coming up against a boundary, a limitation that has potentially kept us stuck, right? This could even be like the breaking down of, or the dismantling of, illusions or, the perceived boundaries in our lives that have been holding us back in some way, and that are potentially dissolving right around this time, and so yes, this can be like a sobering, potentially serious energy, but it can also be kind of like an awakening, like a reawakening to where we have been holding ourselves back in some way, and us being honest with ourselves about either the perceived limits in our lives that we've been living under that aren't really actually accurate, or us really realizing and kind of reaching this space of like, what, things need to change or be cleaned out or cleared out. I need to completely stop doing what I was doing, or I need to make a really big decision here or a really big commitment that's going to change everything and start fresh, right? It's kind of this blank canvas kind of energy coming in. But sometimes that could be a little bit of a rude awakening for some, or sometimes that can be humbling for some, right? It's like where we realize that we've been in our own prison, we've been in our own cage, we've been, the victim of our own perceived delusions in our lives in some way, shape, or form, right? And so that revelation in itself can be sobering, serious, humbling, it can come with, some seriousness, and so anyways, I really think that this is us kind of reaching that point right on the lead up to this lunar eclipse. And for some people, it could be a very line in the sand moment where we realize that in order to change, that it's not adding a bunch of new things into our lives. It's not about addition, it's about subtraction. Okay. And if you've been keeping up with my videos this year, I've talked a lot about this. The first part of this year, the first few months of this year is a lot about making space. It's a lot about subtraction, not addition. If you want to raise your freaking Pisces woo-woo vibe, you got to let some things go, right? You got to subtract. You got to clear things out, clean things out. You don't take the life that you have now and start adding more shit to it, right? It's like you want a new car, but you just start adding shit to your old car thinking that that's going to help you get a new car. You know what I mean? It's like, or you want the new car, but then you take all the old shit from your old car and put it in your new car. That's not going to work, right? It might look new on the outside, but it's not going to feel new on the inside. And that is what this lunar eclipse in Virgo is about. It might look new on the outside, but is it cleaned out on the inside, right? And that's what these polarities are so much about. Cleaning out the outside of your life. Whoops, didn't mean to circle that. Cleaning out the outside of your life versus cleaning out the inside of your life, right? Virgo is about the physical, material aspects of your life. Pisces is about the spiritual, energetic, emotional, internal aspects of your life, right? Another huge part of this is faith without works is dead. Something I say around this time every year, every time we get a Virgo full moon. This one just happens to be an eclipse on the south node. But yes, we can purify within. We can be vulnerable. We can cleanse ourselves from the inside out, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, right? But we also have to take the actual physical steps to do that, whether it's setting time to do that, making space to do that, rearranging and getting rid of the physical things that we need to get rid of in our house that are just kind of cluttering things and that just maybe have some kind of bad energy to them, or that we no longer need, that are no longer of use to us. This is about getting rid of what is no longer of use to us. Being able to admit that we don't always have all the answers, that we don't always know it all, right? Being able to humble ourselves and embrace that beginner mind again, embrace that everything is new mind again. With this being a Virgo lunar eclipse, the practical everyday things that we can do to help us make these changes, right? So, and they may seem small, they may seem little. I was also just having this conversation the other day as well. In the past, when I went through some big, huge change and my life got a lot better in a very short amount of time, all I had was little remnants of an idea of the first step. I had no idea if it would work. And then I would procrastinate on it a lot of the time because it seemed way too freaking simple, right? And that's this energy right now. It's it seems too simple. It's not going to work, right? That little small detail is not going to make that big of a difference. But right now it can, right? Right now it can. The small things can make the biggest difference right now. Right now, those small changes can make the biggest difference, right? So in the past, right before I made a huge change in my life for the better and my life got really good again and I became very happy again, it was always set in motion by a line in the sand moment, number one, and then me doing that first step, right? I had no idea what that first step would lead to. I had no idea what the plan was. I had no idea about anything. I just knew that I don't know what this means. I just have to do this, right? It could be meditation, but if you don't clear the time in your schedule, Virgo, if you don't make the actual physical time in your day-to-day life to start meditating, even though you feel like that's your first step, then you're not going to get anywhere, right? This is about the physical and the non-physical working together as one. You setting it up, organizing your life in a way to include the internal, the non-physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the intuitive. Some of the best peaks of my life, I literally only had a remnant of an idea. I remember in 2022, in the beginning of 2022, I wasn't necessarily miserable, but I did feel like I was kind of just not going anywhere. And I was kind of just stuck in the same habitual pattern day in and day out. And then eventually I had this idea that I wanted to be done with that. And I wanted to start really working with my body, physical, and the energy, and using my body to kind of move energy and tap into energy, all of that, somatic healing, dancing, all of that. But I didn't know what that looked like, right? I had no idea what that looked like. In my mind is so am I just going to be rolling around on the floor? What does that look like? I don't even know. And because I didn't know, I procrastinated on it for weeks, maybe even months. I was just I don't know what that looks like. And, what am I going to do? Just roll around on the floor? That seems too weird and simple. And I don't know. But eventually I got fed up enough to where I got to the point where I finally put down my phone, stopped repeating the same habitual freaking patterns over and over again that were keeping me stuck in my life. And I got up and I made space, on my floor, and made space in the room, and actually just started experimenting, and I probably did look weird and whatever at first, but I didn't care anymore at that point. I was done hanging on to my old ideas and my old designs and my old narratives and plans about what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. Because if I was right, and if I really knew what was going to work and what wasn't going to work, I wouldn't have been in that position to begin with. I wouldn't have been feeling stuck and unmotivated and like I wasn't going anywhere in my life to begin with, right? So I'd rather look like an idiot and be rolling around on my floor, having a vague idea of what I'm doing, than to keep doing what I was doing. And until the life I had been living was more painful than trying something new, nothing changed, right? And I kind of see, and these topics have all been coming up for me personally, and that's why I'm using them, because I feel like these energies are bringing these things up. And that's why I see you may find that lessons from the past, codes that you've gotten from the past, principles that you've adapted to or that you've embraced and integrated for your own life and your own self from the past may be coming back around right now. Because we think that we need, the whole game plan and the whole step-by-step process, and we need to know exactly what to do first before we can move forward. But that is not the case. That is not the case. All you need is the first step, right? All you need is the first step, and not even the whole first step, a glimmer of the first step, like a little vague piece of it. Do that. Last year around September, which is so funny because the cycles from September in 2024 are coming back around. I literally, I had also been feeling kind of lost and stuck in my life most of the year, and I had no idea what to do, right? And my intuition told me to go on a cleanse, and I was like, okay, great, but what does that look like? What kind of cleanse? What are I had no other details than go on a cleanse, and I was like, okay, put it off for weeks because I didn't have all the details and I felt I needed all the details. And then I also knew I was going to have to change my diet and I didn't know what I was going to eat and I didn't know yada, 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 yada. I didn't have the whole plan. And then finally I was just like, you know what? I'm going to stop fucking around. I'm going to stop with all the excuses and needing to know the whole freaking thing. Eventually I just got so sick of waiting, right? I literally had the most dumb excuses. Like, oh, well, if it doesn't contain meat, I still have a piece of meat left in the fridge that I'm gonna have to cook, and so it was just so dumb. And eventually I was like, okay, you know what, screw it, I don't care. I went to this natural store near me, and they recommended a cleanse. My intuition felt good about it. I had no idea how I was gonna do it, but I just started doing it. And once I started doing it, it kind of forced me to continue to do it. And it forced me to find the foods I was going to need to eat and branch out and try new things that I hadn't tried, and then so once I did step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, a plan started forming, but it wasn't until I took the first step, right? It wasn't until I created the physical material space to do it, where I took action in the physical world once my internal world gave me a little glimmer of an idea, a little piece of an idea, right? And so I think a lot of the times we are just stuck waiting around and, more worried about hanging on to control or more worried about being right about why we're miserable than moving forward. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Would you rather be right about why you're stuck in life and why you're miserable and why nothing makes sense and how all the different things you've tried and how nothing's going to work, right? Because that's what you're essentially doing, right? When we're like, yeah, but, like I, caught myself doing recently, it's basically I'm saying that I'm right in being miserable. And you can be totally right in your misery. Your misery can be totally justified, right? Your lostness, your confusion, your stuckness can be totally justified. But if you really, really, truly had all the answers, you wouldn't be where you're at, And that's kind of my own revelations that I'm bringing into this, So anyway, I think that we are doing some kind of emotional clearing out, but in practical ways, right? Potentially through our body or through going on detoxes or cleanses or rituals or, whatever the case may be. And I think that practical steps and small things can make a big difference, like I said, and this can be very liberating. This eclipse, I think, is showing us the missing piece if we are humble enough and ready for the answer and ready to see it and accept it and ready to know that and remember that the answer and the wisdom that we need is never going to be complex. It's always going to be simple. The answers are always simple. Right? And then we sit there and bitch about how simple it is. It can't be that easy. It can't be that simple. Yes, it is. It always is. The answers are always simple. Keep things simple. Keep things simple, right? Be in the present moment. Focus on one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time, right? When we get lost in the complexities of our minds and our emotions, we think that the way out of that is through some complex thing, and it's got to be some big complex plan, and it's really not. It's like, change your routine, change your diet, exercise more, do that thing you've been saying you needed to do. You know what you need to do to move forward. And that's also what I've been kind of realizing lately too. It's like, I've known the whole time what I needed to do to move forward. Again, I was just making excuses or thinking it can't be that simple, it can't be that easy, yada, yada, yada. And so this lunar eclipse basically is coming with a lot of liberation, I think, because it's going to be trining Uranus, right? Yes, this can be some shakeups, some changes, but I think it's whatever this is, as the sun and Saturn are coming into their conjunction right before this lunar eclipse is forming, this is showing me that we're having some really big revelations, some really big game-changing moments that are serious, and they need to be serious because we need to be serious with ourselves. We need to be honest with ourselves. We need to admit where we have been basically playing a part in our own stuckness or our own confusion or whatever the case may be, whatever issue in your life you've been having, right? And so this lunar eclipse is coming with some big awakenings, big insights, and simple solutions. Simple solutions right now equal big results. It's showing us where we've been potentially too hard on ourselves, too judgmental, too critical, too stuck in perfectionism and thinking every little thing needs to be perfect and blaming ourselves when it's not, right? Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, is in Aries. So this is like, again, for us to know what we want, Mercury here with Venus, for us to know what we want, to know the direction to move in, we have to release the shame, the judgment of ourselves, the being too critical on ourselves, the perfectionism, the thinking that we need to have all the answers or know it all before we can move forward. Right? And so we're seeing a lot of polarity between imperfection and perfection, between mess and, organization. What's in our control versus what's out of our control. There may even be a situation that comes up that's completely out of your control where you have no choice but to just surrender and take it one step at a time. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. I also think that this lunar eclipse is bringing up where we've been so cynical in our lives. Being cynical versus having a childlike wonder and optimism and imagination. Finding the easy, simple solutions to our problems and decluttering our lives and letting go of what's no longer useful. Like, are we doing a bunch of shit, and having all these different things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, but they're not even working? Like, why are we doing that? So it's like decluttering the things that are not even working, that are not even actually useful, to make space for doing new things. So I think this is going to be a breakdown of the things that are not working or that don't work anymore. Okay, that aren't useful in our lives, and old plans and designs that have not worked out and letting them go. Again, what we can change versus what we can't. Improvement instead of perfection, right? Where we can improve our lives with small little solutions that don't have to be this big, huge, vast thing. Before we finish up here, the very last thing that happens right after this lunar eclipse is that Mercury here in Aries will then go retrograde on the 15th. So the very next day after this lunar eclipse, Mercury will then turn retrograde. So that tells me that these big revelations, this big line in the sand moment, these big decisions, these big changes, these big awakenings that are happening are really, really causing us to shift directions. They're really, really causing us to reflect, to go back. Again, if you hate your house, you don't just keep buying new shit to put in it, right? If your house is dirty and it's cluttered and you hate it, you don't just keep buying new shit to cover the old shit, right? You got to get rid of the old shit. and actually do the work and clean it out. You can't bring your vision into life without the decluttering and the making space and the doing the work part. So Mercury is going to go retrograde and go back and be like, yeah, I need to actually go back and fix and rethink and redo the things that I know that I need to do in order to move forward. And so some questions that I want you to ask yourself for this particular lunar eclipse is, what flaws or details or issues that you've been hyper focused on that have been holding you back from moving forward? I also want you to think about this. Like, it's not necessarily exactly what we're doing, but the way that we've been doing it. So it's not necessarily like our lives, but the way that we've been living them, right? Because Virgo deals with the mechanics of things. It deals with how we are doing things, organizing things in our lives. So it's not necessarily always about what you're doing, but about how you're doing it, right? Like, I remember we had a Virgo new moon and like a lot of other stuff in Virgo at the time too. I think it was 2021, and I used to do the horoscopes in separate videos. So I had a video for each horoscope, and it was just exhausting me to film, edit, and upload all those videos every single month, plus do the extra videos, you know, throughout the month that I was doing as well. And I really thought that I was on this massive crossroads with my work, and I didn't know if I wanted to do this anymore and all of that. And then that Virgo new moon came around, and I realized that it wasn't the work itself. It was the way I was doing it, that I didn't want to do horoscopes like that. And so it was kind of this lesson in like, work smarter, not harder. Put it all in one video, right? Why do you have to? That way you only have to upload and edit one video instead of 12, plus. And that made my life so much easier, and I was able to, keep up with it more, and it was just so, so much better. So it's not always about what you're doing or the thing that you think is the problem. It's about the way that we're doing it, right? So where has our own perfectionism or our own judgment and critique been holding us hostage in our lives? Where have we been playing a part in our own suffering, our own stuckness, our own lostness? If you took inventory or even an audit of your life and each area of your life, how happy would you be on a scale of 1 to 5? And if not, what needs to change there, right? What needs to be purified internally and externally? What needs to be cleaned out in your life? What are the physical and material things, tasks, or improvements that need to change or be made? Okay? And so that is what this lunar eclipse in Virgo is about. Comment down below, badass alien, if you stayed and watched the whole first part of this video. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. Thank you so, so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start on the rising signs and what this means for your rising sign. Also, if you want even more about this month, make sure to check out my March 2025 horoscopes video, which is doing really well, to get kind of the whole picture of this month as well, because we're only going to briefly talk about it in these horoscopes. So anyways, thank you guys. I love you. Let's go. Alrighty, starting with you, my lovely Virgo risings. This is a big one for you, and I'm sure you are probably feeling it, okay? I'm sure you're probably feeling it. This lunar eclipse is happening in your first house, so this is all about like you, your body, your soul, like your personality, your, the things that you truly want in life. And the way that I really see this lunar eclipse happening for you is you reconnecting with yourself in ways that you may have long forgotten. I think that this lunar eclipse is like an opportunity to make really powerful transformations in your life with yourself. And it is a massive opportunity to let go of old versions of you that have been potentially holding you back, right? Letting go of kind of more of the shadow traits of your personality in some ways, like the cynic within you, the critic within you, the part of you that makes severe judgment very quickly, and that kind of holds on to a sense of being right or correct all the time and not needing to have it all figured out, right? I think this is also you reconnecting with your body, and a lot of maybe even past ways with the South Node being here, like old lessons coming back around that are mirroring something to you about yourself. Right? I think this is a very, very powerful, powerful, powerful lunar eclipse for you, where you are almost getting reestablished with the truth of who you are and shedding what you no longer are. Okay? Shedding old versions of yourself, closing the door on old aspects of your personality that you may have outgrown, that may no longer align with your own sense of happiness and your own sense of vitality and your own sense of feeling like you. Your own sense of feeling pure from the inside out. Okay, and not needing everything to be perfect or everything to be a certain way for you to feel good on the inside. And I think that's what this South Node in your sign is teaching you, and what this lunar eclipse could really be heavily bringing up for you at this time. I think this could be almost like an awakening of sorts, where you reawaken and remember things from the past and remember, certain time periods from the past that somehow relate with lessons that you're going through now, that somehow relate with who you are stepping into becoming now, and who and what you're letting go of from the past. Okay. I think that you could get a lot of insight into like your own sense of dharma, your own beliefs, your own truth, with the Uranus trine to your 9th house, right? Like your world views are changing. How you see your world and your place in the world and how you see that is changing very, very drastically around this time. And, even for some of you, if you don't notice this right away, I think you're going to look back and see this time as being very transformative, as the months go on. But, with the Saturn Sun conjunction in your 7th house opposing this lunar eclipse, I think you're really remembering parts of yourself that maybe you forgot, right? Or maybe that you saw in other people, or thought that only other people had, or thought that, weren't a part of who you are, but they are, right? And so it's like you're learning to let go of a lot that you've been hanging on to. It's almost like with this being in your 1st house, and you definitely want to watch the first half of this video, okay? Like you definitely do as a Virgo rising. You don't want to miss that first half. But with this being in your 1st house, I almost see this as like a decluttering of the junk that has been built up in your body, that has been holding you back, or felt heavy, or felt like a load that you have been carrying for so long. And this is about lightening that load. For some of you, this could be bringing relationships into the mix, and your relationships with other people, the giving and the receiving, and the giving and the taking in relationships as well, with your planetary ruler, Mercury, being in your 8th house in Aries. This is you wanting to move forward on the goals and the desires that you have, but first knowing and realizing that there are things that you are taking part in. It's like you are owning up to your own part in things, and you are letting go of the things, the baggage that no longer serves you in your life, in order to clean out your life and purify your life for you to move forward on the goals and the things that you desire in your life. Right? To have the life that you want to have, to go on the journeys that you want, to have the financial situations and experiences that you want to have the relationship experiences that you want to have the entrepreneurial experiences that you want to have, whatever that is. It's like there is a decluttering happening with yourself, right? And a cleansing out, a clearing out happening with yourself and your body that you may feel very, very intensely around this time, and that I think is going to open new doors for you and bring back a sense of faith and lightness within yourself that maybe you have not felt for a long time, maybe even since childhood, with this being your 1st house. So I would love to hear down below, Virgo risings, if that is resonating with you and how you are noticing this Virgo lunar eclipse coming up in your life. I'd love to hear about it down below. Comment down below, sexy Virgo rising, if you watched until this point. I appreciate you. Also, check out the March 2025 horoscopes for even more details about what is going on this month if you haven't seen that already. And don't miss the beginning if you skipped ahead. Okay, so moving on to Libra risings. For Libra risings, this lunar eclipse in Virgo is happening in your 12th house. So talk about a massive, massive decluttering of the past, the subconscious programming, the gunk and the junk that has been, potentially being kept private or secret or behind the scenes in your life in some way that needs to mother effing go. Okay. With this being Virgo and an earth sign, this makes me think of like actual physical things that you've been keeping in a storage unit or in a basement or in a garage or something like that, that needs to be cleaned out, that needs to be cleared out, that needs to go. This also makes me think of perfectionism, subconscious perfectionism habits and judgmental habits that have kept you stuck or that have kept you from moving forward in some way in your life with the things that you want. Right? You being overly critical of yourself or procrastinating because of a sense of perfectionism and not really moving forward on your dreams in terms of your job or in terms of how you want to help others or serve others in the world or in terms of your, health and your day-to-day life. This is a very sobering moment that's coming in here that could awaken something for you and you realizing some subconscious patterns or some hidden things that need to be let go of, cleaned out, realized, or faced, right? You having potentially even subconscious answers that you haven't been wanting to look at, right? In some way or another that you've been avoiding. This could bring up habits, escapism, things that really need to be faced around this time for you to actually feel clean, clear, and, purified from the inside out in your life, for your health, for your job, for the work that you want to continue to do on a day-to-day basis, that leads you to your bigger goals, your bigger dreams, your bigger legacy that you want to leave behind. Okay, this is also bringing up the topic of your relationships with others and, the people in your life and the agreements within those relationships, thinking about what you really want and desire within those relationships and how you want to move forward in your life. And so with Mercury going retrograde here, literally the next day after this, lunar eclipse, you're definitely going to be rethinking what you really truly want and desire and how you want to, kind of solve these issues or things going on within your relationship department. So, and I'd love to know as a Libra rising how you guys are noticing all of that so far. I'd be very, very curious to know. This could also be with this Virgo lunar eclipse trining Uranus in your 8th house. It could be bringing in something financial or shared finances, shared resources, and being liberated or liberating yourself or making some big change in that department in some way. So let me know down below, Libra Risings, how that's resonating. And if you missed the first part of this video, you are missing out on a lot. Okay, so go back and watch that because it's just going to make so much more sense and it's going to relate to you in some way or another. I know it is. So take my word for it. Go back and watch the first half of this video. Okay, moving on to Scorpio Rising. So for Scorpio Risings, this Virgo lunar eclipse is happening in your 11th house of friends, alliances, your network, your aspiration, dreams, and hopes in the world. This could be marketing, advertising, audiences, connecting with other people, your network, all of these different types of themes could be coming up around this time with this lunar eclipse. You could be having a lot of big revelations in terms of your social life with this lunar eclipse trining Uranus in your 7th house as well. And really realizing, potentially who's in alignment with you and who isn't, what needs to be reorganized or redone or refigured or let go of to some degree within your social life or within your network, within your circle, within your aspirations, within the things that you've been working towards or how you've been reaching other people for, one reason or another. Because the thing is it's like, are the people in your life really aligned with you on like a soul level, right? Are they aligned with your passions? Are they aligned with the things that you love? Do you share the same values? Are they useful? Do they bring something of quality into your life? Now, for others of you, I could see this being something that highlights your own fears of judgment or perfectionism in terms of what creations or projects or experiences that you're putting out into the world, right? So it's like if you've been wanting to share something with other people or share some creative endeavor or something you've been working on creatively with other people, but you have like fears of, like public speaking or, critique or judgment or whatever. These are some of the things that could be coming up around this time. Okay. Now, also, we're going to have Mercury retrograding in your 6th house of Aries, and Venus is already retrograding here. So this is already really rethinking what you want, what you desire in terms of your work, in terms of the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, in terms of your health, your job, your routines, your habits, all of this, right? It doesn't really work if you don't have a passion for it or don't desire to do it. And I think you're starting to realize that. Right. And so with Mercury going retrograde here, this is just adding to the revising of this area, the actual going back and rethinking and reorganizing of this area as they are moving back towards the sign of Pisces in your 5th house. And like I've been saying a lot for you guys as Scorpio risings this year, that this is a year where you are really, really rethinking what you want to bring to the world, what you're good at, what you're talented at, what you're passionate at, what your soul really actually desires, and what you find pleasure and fun and creativity and imagination in. And if that can transfer to your job or to the work that you're wanting to do in the world in some way, and I think it's like you're really rethinking, like, what is my thing, like what is my thing here? What's my truth? What's my long-term vision? What is my long-term kind of dharma, right? With Mars in your 9th as well. And so it's like the things that you love, do the people in your life align with them, right? The things that you want, the things that you find enjoyment and pleasure in, is that aligned with the people in your life, the social, your social life in some way, right? And so I think this is a really, really interesting time for you as a Scorpio rising. Let me know down below, Scorpio risings, how you're seeing that play out so far. I'd love to hear your feedback. And also, if you missed the first part of this video, definitely go back and watch that because you are missing out on a lot. And comment sexy Scorpio rising down below if you watched until this point. I appreciate you guys. Okay, so moving on to Sagittarius risings. For Sagittarius risings, this eclipse is happening in your 10th house in the sign of Virgo. So this is a massive kind of highlight coming in here that could be a turning point, a closing out, a letting go, or a massive revelation and change that's occurring here in terms of your long-term goals, your legacy, what you want out of life, your direction in life, your public image, etc. So I think this is you really realizing where potentially perfectionism, critique, judgment has been maybe holding you back in your career, maybe by other people or the fear of it from other people, or maybe from within your own self in some way, shape, or form. Okay, I think that this is a massive, sobering realization of, with the Sun Saturn conjunction happening in your 4th house, of you really coming in and realizing what you want and what you don't want in terms of your personal life and your internal life versus your public life and your goals and your public achievements, and you could even be realizing that maybe just because you don't achieve something in the way that you thought you should have, or just because something doesn't always turn out as it should have, or just because you're not always achieving things or, perfecting things or improving things, doesn't make you useless in some way, shape, or form, or doesn't make you ineffective in some way, shape, or form. So I think these are massive, big awakenings, epiphanies, revelations of where to let go, surrender, slow down, stop and enjoy the moment, especially in your private and personal life with behind closed doors with home and family, versus your career life, your public goals, your public achievements, etc. This could be the rearranging or the changing of certain goals or a certain career path or a certain path that you've been going down, where you start to really realize that things need to change in some way. Or the smallest detail or the smallest shift can make the biggest result around this time. And so we also have Mercury going retrograde in your 5th house of Aries. And so, the next day after this eclipse on the 15th. And so it's going to join Venus retrograde here already and retrograding in your 5th house. And so you're really going to be rethinking, what do you really desire? What do you really want? What do you really find enjoyment and passion in, right? And I think this goes to say, there are some massive changes potentially happening in your home, family, and personal life that are leaking into you asking questions about what you truly find pleasure in, what truly brings fulfillment and enjoyment to your life, what you're truly passionate about, and if your career is aligned with that or not, right? If your career is actually representing what you're passionate about, what you find enjoyment in, right? And this could be with the Uranus trine to this lunar eclipse, from your 6th house to your 10th house. This could be you making some big changes here, or some big changes being made in some way that somehow liberates you from something. Uranus liberates you or wakes you up to something, especially to do with your job and your career path. Okay, so this is looking really big if you're Sag Rising, since it's on, hitting your angular houses. So let me know down below, Sag Risings, how that's playing out for you. I'd really love to hear your feedback and know how you're experiencing this. Also, comment down below, sexy Sag Rising, if you watched until this point. Also, if you skipped the first half of the video, definitely make sure to go back and watch that. You do not want to miss the first half of this video, okay? It is really, really deep and really, really good. Okay, so moving on to Capricorn risings. For Capricorn risings, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 9th house. And this is definitely a time where this lunar eclipse could be bringing in questions about what you actually believe in your life. The details of what's true and what's not true. Where is your integrity? Where do you stand in terms of your own principles, your own truth, your own sense of meaning that you kind of extract from life? This could also be bringing up educational pursuits. This could be bringing up travel and things like this as well. But it's really of like where you find a sense of meaning and purpose in your life. And some of your beliefs could be really mutating and changing around this time. You could be really noticing a lot of details that no longer really align with, the direction that you're headed in some way, shape, or form. This lunar eclipse is also trining Uranus down in your 5th house of Taurus. And so this is definitely a time where you could find yourself being kind of liberated from an old belief system or an old way of looking at the world that was very cynical, or where you were very perfectionistic or very skeptical of everything or whatever. And the universe is like, hey, you can have faith, and you find faith by putting in practice and putting in work, right? And by aligning, like if you're going to have a belief or a dream and something, how do you put that into practice? How do you ground that into reality in some way, shape, or form? How do you bring it into your passions and the things that you love and all of that in some way, right? So this could be a really kind of sobering realization that really brings some awakening to your life, or some massive insight to your life about, where you have potentially not been practicing what you preach, or where you no longer align with a certain belief or a certain outlook on the world, or a certain educational pursuit, or you find that maybe for some of you, this could even just be like you're finishing some kind of project, some kind of writing project, or publishing a book, or, something like that. But either way, this is kind of bringing in those kind of topics and those kind of vibes with it. And definitely make sure to watch the first half of the video if you missed it, because I went a lot more in depth in there, and I think you're really going to relate to it, Capricorn Risings. But comment sexy Capricorn Rising down below if you watched until this point. I appreciate you guys. And we're going to move on to Aquarius Rising. So for Aquarius Risings, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 8th house. So this could definitely be you rearranging the way that you are spending money or the way that you are investing. This could be you really realizing that you want to budget in a new way, or learn new things, or branch out of your normal financial bubble, or even end and close certain chapters financially, or to do with relations with others as well in some way. How you are kind of karmically bonded or tied to others in some way through physical things, right? And so for some of you, this could be like, if you let a family member like borrow a car, and now you're like getting that car back or something, like something like that is what I was more so referring to. But either way, this is you really, this lunar eclipse is bringing up this huge highlight on your 8th house, your finances, and how that house is arranged basically, and how it may need to be rearranged or decluttered, or kind of inventoried or kind of thought out in some way, creating a plan, or it could be even the letting go of an old plan because it's not working, or letting go of things that are no longer working or no longer useful, things like that in some way, shape, or form. I think you're having some major revelations and realizations surrounding finances this week, and really what you want financially or with business, or what you want in terms of your values, your priorities, ownership, possessions, right? Things like that as well. What you share with other people, what you give to other people versus what you receive from other people, right? I think this is a massive clearing out of the things that no longer serve you in some way, shape, or form. And with Mercury here in your third house, this could also involve friends in some way, or your neighborhood, community, town, city, right? Transportation, or, something along those lines. Like maybe you're realizing, what, I've been kind of not hanging with the right crowd, and my finances have taken a hit and I need to make a change, you know what I mean? Or I want to go back and rebudget my money and see where my money is actually going, because I'm not really clear on the details, and I know that it's going somewhere, and I need to rearrange some things, right? Something like that could definitely be some things that, something that some of you guys realize. But either way, it's like you are really rethinking things in terms of your finances, and rethinking things in terms of your priorities and what's close to you, what you depend on, and the energetic and physical exchanges that you have with other people, and how those play a part in your life right now. So let me know down below, Aquarius Risings, how that is playing out for you guys, what you guys are noticing with this. I would love to hear your feedback. Also comment down below, sexy Aquarius Rising, because you are. Also, if you missed the first part of this video, Aquarius Rising, you're missing out, so go back and watch that. Okay, Pisces Risings. This lunar eclipse for you is a big one because it is happening in your opposite sign of Virgo, okay? And so this is a massive, massive moment, a massive change, revelation, awakening, or closing out that is happening here within your relationships, okay? Or with other people in general, your social life in general, one or the other, right? This is you, I think, coming to a massive, sobering revelation about yourself, or your body, or your soul, or your personality, or what is good for you. Almost like a moment of being very honest and reflective with yourself. And from there, right, this is the catalyst to major, major change in terms of what you really want, value, desire, and prioritize in your life, and how that may be conflicting or opposing within your relationships, or your relationship with another person. It could be a particular relationship, or it could be your social life, etc. Okay? And with that lunar eclipse in Virgo, so close to the South Node, I think this is like addressing karmic patterns in relationships, addressing past things when it comes to relationships, addressing old lessons when it comes to relationships, addressing what no longer feels aligned for you in certain relationships, addressing boundaries and limitations in relationships, addressing subjects surrounding perfectionism, critique, being overly analytical, overly detailed in relationships, being picky in relationships, or this could be somewhat of like addressing issues with a partner for expecting too much out of you, or expecting you to kind of go along with their plans all the time instead of trusting yourself, right? These are just different ways that it could play out for some of you guys. But either way, I think there's a massive closing out for some of you happening as well, where you are really asking yourself, like, do I want to improve this relationship? Is it worth improving? Can it be improved? While also knowing that, like, yes, not everything needs to be perfect all the time, right? There's this polarity between acceptance versus improvement, right? Where it's like, where are we trying to improve something all the time and not accepting it for what it is, versus where are we accepting things when really we know that we crave improvement, right? And so it's like really asking yourself where you fall in that spectrum to know what the lesson is coming up here for you. So I think that it's, really so very, very much about your relationships and what you want and find valuable in terms of the relationships in your life, or what needs to change. in some of those relationships in order to move forward and kind of, reflecting on that change. As Mercury goes retrograde the very next day on March 15th, you're definitely going to be reflecting on that change and potentially, the priorities and the things that you want within that relationship, the values that you have, and potentially possessions, money, finances, and things like that as well. So let me know down below, Pisces rising, how that is relating. I'd really love to hear how this is all playing out for you right now. I'm sure it's pretty cray. And then also, if you missed the first half of this video, definitely go back and watch the beginning portion, because there's so much good stuff in there that you don't want to miss, that I think you're going to relate to a lot. Okay, so moving on to, also comment down below, sexy Pisces rising, if you watch this far. I appreciate you. Okay, moving on to Aries risings. For you, Aries risings, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house of your job, habits, health, and day-to-day routines and tasks. And so this lunar eclipse for you is definitely addressing the potential habits that drain you in your life, right? That keep you somewhat stuck, or that keep you in this cynical, skeptical, stuck place, right? Where you are more worried about perfection and therefore potentially procrastinating and not getting anything done, or where you are more critical of yourself or of your work and therefore not getting anything done, or maybe being inconsistent in some way, right? Or struggling to move forward or scared to move forward. This is really addressing the things that are holding you back and that need to change and be rearranged or decluttered in this area of your life. Basically, where you need to clean shit up and get your shit together and make things more simple and less complex, and where you need to basically accept and embrace simplicity, right? Where you can improve by making things simple and not getting too in your head or too analytical about all of it. And this is so much about your health and your body, because even the ruler of this lunar eclipse that's happening in your 6th house of health and work, the ruler of that is Mercury, and that's in your 1st house. Also rules over your body, your appearance, your personality, yourself. So this is so much about your health right now, your body, your habits, and how you're taking care of yourself on a day-to-day basis, and what physical habits or material habits are holding you back from that, or are draining you in some way, or at least that need to change in some way. And so you could be very into self-improvement right now and improving these things, and maybe letting go of habits that are no longer working for you or no longer really actually helping you, letting go of old, criticism, judgments, things that are holding you back. And this is a chance to really purify your life from the inside out, and I talked a lot about that in your 2025 year ahead horoscope, but this is so much about that. Purifying your life from the inside out. And this is kind of the out portion of that, right? What needs to be purified in your external physical material reality? What needs to change? What needs to go? What needs to be decluttered? What needs to be rearranged? What habits need to be embraced or added? What needs to be subtracted? All of these things. And so this lunar eclipse could be coming with a pretty big awakening, a potentially even spiritual awakening on the day-to-day habits and physical things that you need to do that are going to really help you and that are going to really make big changes. Small things can make really big changes right now. Okay, small little shifts can make really big changes. This is about working smarter, not harder. Okay, and if you missed the beginning, you really need to go back and watch that. As an Aries rising, you're really going to relate to that. It was really deep, and so many people need to hear the first half of this video. Okay, so go back and watch it. I'm definitely you need to go back and watch it. Okay, this one is no joke. Okay, so comment down below, sexy Aries rising, because you are. I appreciate you guys, and we are gonna move on to Taurus risings. So for Taurus risings, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 5th house of children, hobbies, pleasure, the things that you get joy out of, the things that you're passionate about. So these could be, different crafts or crafty hobbies, craft shows, things like this, right? This is really lighting up your creative social axis here. So this is really getting into the things that you are passionate about or feeling creatively inspired by that you want to bring to the world. and finding the groups and the people and the networks and the allies and the audiences that, have that shared common passion, enjoyment, skills, etc., right? That share something in common or share the same skills. And so this lunar eclipse here could be bringing up a lot of things to do with maybe, your sense of craftiness, your skills, the things that you are passionate about, potentially children, creative pursuits, or even love and, entertainment and pleasure, right? And it could be really bringing up where you almost kind of block yourself from these things at times because you are too focused on the negative, or you are too critical, or you are too, leaning into perfectionism, or you are too kind of into the sense of judging yourself, or too worried about what other people are going to think. And so it's like, where do you need to let a lot of these things go? Where do you need to release a lot of these things? And kind of just allow yourself to be happy in some way, shape, or form, right? Or allow yourself to, let go of the need for things to be perfect, right? For you to want to put it out into the world, or for you to share it with other people, or whatever the case may be, right? And so you could also be really working on something behind the scenes that maybe you're not so sure how it's going to go, with Mercury being the ruler of this, being in your 12th house. And it's like, you're not so sure how it's going to go, right? And Mercury is going to retrograde right after this lunar eclipse. So this lunar eclipse is really pointing something out to you to do with these things, Taurus risings. And it is trining Uranus in your sign. So this is a good time where you could really set yourself free, or really kind of break free of some old limitations that have been holding you back from doing what you love, or doing the things that you want to do, or following the dreams, aspirations, and inspirations that you want to follow in your life. So comment down below, sexy Taurus rising, because you are. Let me know if that related with you guys. I would really love to hear your feedback. And if you missed the first half of this video, you are missing out on a lot. So definitely go back and catch that first half of the video. Okay, Gemini risings. This lunar eclipse is happening in your 4th house. So this lunar eclipse is so much about the past, your personal life, your private life, things going on behind closed doors, like secrecy, privacy, your home life, your family, your parents, your living situation, right? Things from the past that still maybe haunt you. So this lunar eclipse being very, very close to the south node could really be bringing up these old karmic patterns, or these old ancestral or generational patterns from the past, to do with a lot of these Virgo themes, right? Like control, or being too critical, judgmental, picky, too analytical, perfectionistic, and where maybe you have somehow adapted to some of these traits, or adapted to some of these things because of your childhood, or your parents, or how you grew up, or how that's affecting your home life currently in some way, shape, or form, right? This definitely is a time where you could notice karmic lessons, or patterns, or old memories, or, nostalgia kind of coming back from the past, or kind of making an entrance in your life in some way, shape, or form, as this is also as you're also kind of dealing with this very big revelation, or kind of sobering, serious, humbling revelation or awakening in terms of your long-term goals, your career, kind of hitting a limit here, or kind of finally even, rising above a certain limit here in terms of what you want for your future and what you want out of your life. But first, it's what details from the past, or what old stuff going on in the past needs to be let go of? What are you holding on to from the past that is weighing you down, that needs to be alchemized or transmuted, right? This is the perfect lunar eclipse to clean out your house, to clean out your home, to declutter, to actually purify your house, from the inside out. It's if you want to, you're kind of going through this purification process of your life in general, and your vision, and where you're going, and your direction in your life and your career, and what you feel like your destiny is, or your purpose is. But there's this physical clean out that needs to happen too, of all the old gunk that is in the way, or all the old gunk that needs to go. A rearrangement or a remodeling could be happening around this time, or you could realize that one needs to happen, right? And with Mercury ruling this lunar eclipse, and and being an Aries in your 11th house of your social life and your aspirations in life and all of that, this could also be related to that in some way, shape, or form, as Mercury is going to go retrograde the very following day on March 15th. And you're going to really start rethinking your social life, the direction of your life, and also your aspirations in life and who you hang around, right? And Mercury is your chart ruler, right? But how that relates to your past, or how that relates to your personal life, your home life, your family life in some way, And so right now there's something being very, very highlighted or closed out to do with your home, family, and personal life that needs to be fixed, solved, changed, or let go of in some way, shape, or form. This could even be a time of home improvement where you're going back and improving something that maybe you've done before, or that maybe was already done, but now you're having to kind of go back and improve it in some way, shape, or form, right? Because Virgo really deals with improvement. So comment down below, Gemini Rising, sexy Gemini Rising down below, because you are. And if you missed the first half of this video, you're really missing out on a lot with this one. I know I say that every video, but like the first half of this video, I think a lot of people need to hear. So I would go back and really catch that if you missed it. Okay, so we're going to move on to Cancer Risings. For Cancer Risings, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 3rd house. Okay, and we have the Sun Saturn conjunction happening in your 9th house, and then Mercury going retrograde in your 10th house. And there's just this massive adding up here of shit happening where you are really reflecting on what you actually desire, want in your career life, how you want to take charge, how you want to take your life by the horns. What is the direction of your life? What do you actually want? What do you find enjoyment in? What is your passion? Right? Like, where do you need to charge forth and take the first step in your life and be the first, right? Where do you need to be the pioneer? But that's confusing right now. Right now, you're reflecting on that, right? And so right now, you're kind of like, well, I'm not sure where to go, or I'm not sure what that first step is, or I'm not sure how to charge forward just yet. So there's like this reflection happening. And as there's this reflection happening, you're kind of coming to this serious, sobering awakening or revelation or moment or news that really kind of potentially changes the direction that you've been going in, or it changes the worldviews or the beliefs or the outlook or the truth that you thought there was in some way, shape, or form, right? And after that, then we have this lunar eclipse building at the same time in your 3rd house, right? Kind of pointing to, the 3rd house is a little bit of a weird house. It's a lot of different things. So your friends, your local environment, the city that you live in, your surroundings, short trips and travels, but also, the details of all those things with it being Virgo, and, the physical kind of organization of all those things, your siblings, relatives. So those are all different things you could you could see coming up with this. But this definitely looks like some kind of news or conversation that could be coming in, or something to do with a travel or trip or short travel or something along those lines, or even an educational pursuit. Having to revisit an area that you've been before, or rethink. Also with the 3rd house, this can also be your skills. So for some of you, this lunar eclipse could be highlighting skills that maybe you forgot about, right? Skills that you're good at that maybe you forgot about. And that also feeds into your career, or what you want to do for the direction of your life, or the path that you want to go down in some way for some of you as well. Okay, and so these are the different ways that you could really see this playing up. There could be some kind of changes going on in your neighborhood or locally, or there could be, some of you guys could even be thinking about moving locations or moving cities, or maybe you had already been thinking about it, or maybe some of you already had, moved to like a new environment or a new city or something like that. But it's almost like you are needing to rearrange or reorganize your day-to-day errands, your day-to-day task, and what you're doing and interacting with on a day-to-day basis, right? And becoming more grounded and practical with what you actually want, have faith in, dream about, and desire in your life. Faith without works is dead, right? Your 9th house being Pisces, this is so much about faith and your belief and your faith in something bigger than yourself. But it's like, what are you doing to bring that into your reality? Right? With this Virgo lunar eclipse, right? Where have you maybe not been living your life, or your lifestyle hasn't really been reflecting of that, right? So let me know below, Cancer Risings, how that is relating with you guys. I'd really love to hear your feedback and hear how you are noticing this lunar eclipse, because it is a really big deal. There's so much happening right now. And if you missed the first part of this video, you are missing out, okay? The first part of this video was not playing, okay? I think a lot of people, especially if you were feeling somewhat lost or stuck in your life, you need to hear the first half of this video, okay? Also, comment sex or Cancer Rising down below, because you are. Okay. Last but not least, my lovely Leo risings. I actually took a couple notes that I was noticing and that I wanted to, tell you guys about personally. So we have this lunar eclipse in Virgo happening in our second house. We have the Sun-Saturn conjunction happening, the day or two before it in our 8th house. And then we have Mercury turning retrograde in our 9th house. So what does this all mean? I know it's like our house of, finances and the giving and the receiving in our lives and all of that. But I think right now we are really revising what we truly want and what we're truly freaking passionate about, like what our mission is. What is our mission in life? I feel like Leo risings, it seems like a lot of Leo risings have felt kind of lost or kind of directionless lately. And I think we've been going through almost like a roller coaster of a journey with our faith over like the last year or two. And what do we truly believe? What are our principles? Like, how do we live our life, right? Like, what is like the truth of our lives? What is our truth, right? And I think this has been kind of an up and down journey for us. Like, where do we, like, our life lessons and our dharma and our own codes and our own teachings and our own lessons, like, where does that all come in? And I think it's been this like big up and down journey for us. And I think that this particular time right now of this lunar eclipse and everything that's happening and these Aries retrogrades are really kind of going back and reminding us of old lessons and old principles and kind of slowly starting to remind us of what our mission is. This could be a time where you find that you are going back to lessons that you've learned before, or reminiscing on other time periods in your past, or going back to old teachings, old educational pursuits, this is definitely a massive big time for self-development as a Leo rising. And really it comes down to our relationship with faith. Right? Our relationship with faith, our relationship with our body, our relationship with our needs, our relationship with our wants, our relationship with the material world, and our relationship with the spiritual world. That's what this really kind of comes down to, I think, for Leo risings right now. Finding our own truth and finding our own direction in life, and not just following everybody else's or doing what everybody else is doing. And so this Virgo lunar eclipse, yeah, it can bring up money and finances and, rearranging your finances or your budget or, financial situations or like whatever. But I think that this is also coming back to our own priorities and sense of what is important to us, letting go of outdated solutions, habits, and things that we may have depended on before that are no longer useful or no longer effective at helping us move forward. I think that this is also our relationship with our body and with our physical world and our physical needs and our physical wants. I think that, like I said, this is also our relationship with giving and receiving in way more ways than just financial. I think this is also our relationship with our faith, with our belief in ourselves, and our own sense of spirituality and our own sense of abundance in life and feeling taken care of and feeling, getting into the woo side of things, whether that be energetics or, some other spiritual path. But this is a very, very, very potent and powerful time that can reignite a lot of our spirituality, reignite a lot of Leo risings in terms of their intuition, their energy, and a massive awakening could happen for a lot of people too. This lunar eclipse is trining Uranus. So this is also, I think, kind of, reawakening us to what we actually want in terms of our career, in terms of our direction in life, in terms of our long-term goals. I think that this is kind of potentially reawakening us to skills that we have, to this kind of like change that we've maybe desperately needed in our lives in terms of the path that we're on, or feeling connected to the vision for our lives or our futures, right? And so I really think that this week could be a very pivotal turning point if we are willing to do the simple task, the simple solutions, and make simple, like physical changes in our lives to help us move forward, right? And if you didn't watch the first part of the video, as a Leo rising, I really implore you to do that. Like, I would say it's necessary because you're going to relate to it, okay? And I'm not going to go too in depth here because I went very, very in depth the first half of this video. So go watch the beginning portion of this video because you're going to need to hear it, especially if you're a Leo rising and you're feeling kind of lost or stuck or directionless lately, okay? So anyways, that is what I'm seeing. Comment down below, sexy Leo rising down below, because you are. Go watch the first half of this video if you skipped ahead. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one.